Welcome to Beautifully Consumed, where I believe the best way to live a life with purpose is by loving and becoming your most true self. Because when you know yourself fully, you shine a light that gives others the permission to do the same. I'm your host, Leigh. I'm here to inspire and encourage you by sharing my journey, the stories of others, and all the tips, tricks, and life lessons about aligning with your highest self. You're in the right place if you're ready to be wildly dedicated to finding your purpose, becoming your most true self, and learning what it means to be beautifully consumed with living a life that is undeniably yours. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beautifully Consumed. I'm your host, Leigh. Happy New Year. It's the first episode of 2025. It is going to be a great year. I'm so glad to have you here. In today's episode, I had so much to talk about, and I thought about slamming it all into one episode, but it's just too much. So I decided to split it up into two separate episodes. So this is going to be a great little mini series for prepping for the new year, taking advantage of the energy and the shifts that the new year brings, and just setting our intentions and getting ready for everything that is coming our way. So in today's episode, we are talking about being beautifully consumed with being magnetic. And the reason we're talking about being magnetic is that is my 2025 word of the year. So we're going to talk all about word of the year, what it is, how you can pick one for yourself, why I like picking a word of the year. I'm going to give you a little recap on my 24 word of the year, and then we're going to get into my 2025 word of the year being magnetic and what that means, how you can apply this to your life, whether or not you want to make it your word of the year or not. I feel like being magnetic is just a trait and a quality that I aspire to have, whether it's in the year 2025 or beyond. Like, I think this is something that I aspire to embody at all times. So we're going to talk about it. So, and then in next week's episode, we're going to talk about vision boarding. And these two are related because the first step is to pick your word of the year. And then that will kind of help you to define your goals and your visions and prep your vision board for the new year. So listen to this episode first, and then next week we will be talking about all about what a vision board is, how to do it, and how it correlates with your word of the year. And if you are listening to these episodes later in the year, July, October, whenever it is never too late to set an intention, to create a vision board, to pick a word of the year, or to set goals. You can do these things anytime. It does not have to be in January or on the new year. You can decide to change and make a change anytime you want. So before we get into today's episode, I want to encourage you to listen with an open mind. And the reason I say that is me personally, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, if I heard somebody talking about picking a word of the year or doing a vision board, I would have rolled my eyes and said, this sounds like bullshit. And I have come a long way in the past few years, and now I actually do these things because I've realized that they work and they're very powerful, very beneficial, and very impactful. So if you're someone who is new to this or has never heard about this kind of stuff, just listen with an open mind, and you might just like take away one or two small things from this and implement it in whatever way feels good for you. But just know you're listening from somebody who was very skeptical about all of these things. And now I implement and practice these things every single year because I love how they have changed my mindset and changed my life. So, what is a word of the year? This is obviously a word that you're going to pick at the start of the year or anytime throughout the year if you're listening to this later on. And I like doing a word of the year instead of setting New Year's resolutions or goals because it feels more like setting an intention or setting a vibe or a theme for the year as opposed to setting hard and fast goals. I have never been someone who is very motivated by setting these goals with strict numbers and very quantifiable factors. I am more motivated by how something makes me feel, and I really like to lean into my intuition and my gut feelings, and numbers and quantifiable stuff just never has really done it for me. And so when I heard about a word of the year, I was like, oh, that actually sounds like something I could get behind. So I have been doing word of the year for, I think, 5 years now. And I continue to do it because I've seen just how much it has made an impact on my life and my years, and really how it has changed my mindset and the way that I look at how I'm moving through my year. So I really, really love picking a word of the year. Now, you are going to pick a word, you can pick a phrase, you can pick a couple of words, but try to narrow it down to something that you want to be kind of like the theme or your North Star for the year. And this is going to be something that you use and reference back to throughout the year to make decisions and make choices and changes. And you're always going to kind of reference back to that word and say, hey, is this decision or this thing that I want to do, does that align with the word that I chose for this year? Does that align with the intention I set, with the vibe I set, with the feelings I wanted to feel? And the word of the year can be flexible and adaptable. There's absolutely been years where I set a word of the year and life does not always go as planned, as I'm sure you know. And different things happen, things come up, things that are out of our control. And that word that I chose at the start of the year definitely looked different by the end of the year. It didn't necessarily mean what I thought it meant when I was picking it. But I was able to take that word and use it to flex and adapt and kind of still be that North Star for me, even though it kind of evolved and turned into something a little bit different than what I had intended it to be. It was just a good thing for me to continually reference back to. So that is why I'm such an advocate of picking a word of the year over picking these very strict goals or resolutions, because oftentimes if we set these goals with quantifiable numbers or whatever it may be, and we don't hit that, then it feels like we failed and we haven't done what we set out to do. And that can be very demotivating. So a word of the year in a lot of ways is flexible, adaptable, and it's going to help you stay motivated because it can grow and change with you. So, for example, my word of the year for 2024 was unrecognizable. And I chose that word because at the start of 2024, I felt this really fiery energy. I was ready to just hit the ground running with all these very lofty, ambitious goals. I was ready to start a bunch of new projects. It was going to be my year to pop off, get rich, do all the things that I've been dreaming about doing for so long. And I just felt like this is the year it's happening. My business turned 5 in 2024, and I feel like that is a huge milestone. And I feel like that kind of gave me the confidence to be like, okay, I'm ready to level up. This is my year to level up. And I want every area of my life to be unrecognizable by the end of 2024. And I chose that word not necessarily for my physical appearance, but more my habits and the things I'm doing and the way I'm living my life. Now that we are at the end of 2024, well, we're in 2025 now, but when I got to the end of 2024, I kind of looked back and reflected on the year. And I really don't feel like that word was the right choice for my year. I do feel like that's what I wanted it to be, but that's kind of not really how it turned out. And I share that with you because that happens. Like that is life and that is okay. And me admitting that, I think that's okay. Like it's all right that I feel that way about my choice for word of the year. And I did a lot of great things that I wanted to do in 2024. I started my podcast. I hit 5 years in business. I worked on a couple of projects that I really have been dreaming about working on for a very long time. And I implemented some habits that I wanted to get really great at, like going to the gym in the morning. I feel like I was very consistent about getting up at 5 a.m., going to the gym. Now I'm not perfect, and I certainly didn't do that every single day like I wanted to, but I started a lot of things that I wanted to start, but I didn't grow them or get them to the point that I wanted them to be or see the success I wanted to see by the end of the year. So that was kind of a disappointment for me in a way, was wanting to choose this word unrecognizable, because I was like, okay, I'm starting these things and by the end of the year, they're going to pop off and be so successful. And I'm just going to be in a completely different place by the end of the year. And that just didn't happen. And I am okay with that. I had to come to terms with that and go back and look at my year. And this is what I'm talking about when your word can be flexible and adaptable. And instead of saying, okay, my year was unrecognizable in the sense that I started a podcast and now my podcast is, getting 1 million downloads and I'm making money from ads and impacting thousands and thousands of people. Like that's what I wanted from my podcast. But instead, I have to look back and say, well, I started a podcast and I got it off the ground and I figured out what it takes. And that took so much courage, energy, education, motivation to even do that and start it. And in a way, that's unrecognizable because I started the year without a podcast and I ended the year with one. Just because I didn't end the year with a very successful podcast doesn't mean that it's not unrecognizable. So this is what I mean when using the word of the year as kind of a overall theme, but allowing it to be flexible. It makes you feel like, okay, I did get stuff done. Even though it didn't go the way I planned, I still was able to look at my year and be like, wow, I did accomplish a lot, or I'm proud of myself for doing this, even though it was less than I wanted or intended it to be. For example, I did an excellent job at not hitting snooze this year. I can't say I never hit snooze. I certainly did, but I did way better than I ever have done in my life at not hitting snooze when I woke up. Now, that's like kind of a silly, small thing, but I think that's a pretty big win. And I think that is an unrecognizable habit that I developed in 2024 that hopefully I will continue to take with me into 25 and all years moving forward. So having that word unrecognizable allows me to look at other areas instead of focusing on what I didn't accomplish. It allows me to kind of like reframe and be like, okay, well, I didn't do this thing that I wanted to do, but what else maybe did I accomplish? And what else can I say is unrecognizable that maybe I hadn't thought of before? So that is why I absolutely love doing a word of the year and would highly recommend and encourage you to pick one for yourself. So let's talk about then my 2025 word of the year, and that is magnetic. So the reason I'm choosing magnetic is I feel like just in a very simple frame of mind, the word magnetic feels much more feminine, intuitive, free flowing, kind of inner. It feels more inward, whereas unrecognizable feels much more masculine, strong, very strict, rough, rigid, and outward. And we're doing like a big flip here. And I feel like I had great intentions with using the word unrecognizable, but it's just not what I needed. I feel like I really just need to lean into like my more feminine energy, lean into trusting my intuition, lean into being more authentic and doing the things that feel authentic to me and doing what makes me happy, not worrying about what I should be doing or what, the definition of happiness is. Like, what is my definition of all of these things? And one of the biggest compliments I think that anybody could give to me is, I love your energy. Like, wow, I love your energy. You're so positive. I love when you walk in the room, like I can feel your energy, like light up the room, and you're so positive. And that is one of the biggest compliments, is for someone to tell me I love your energy. And that is what I want from this year. And that's just like the person I want to be moving forward. So I want to shift from focusing on making my life about achieving and doing all these new things to like leaning into what is meant for me will work out. And I'm going to be attracted to the things that feel good and that I align with. And then in reverse, all the things that are meant for me will be attracted right back to me as well. So that is kind of like my theme for what I interpret being magnetic to be. Now, the reason I am sharing all about being magnetic with you today is because I feel like this is something that we can all embody and use to improve our life in all areas. So I really encourage you to think about a word of the year for yourself. Think about a theme or a phrase, maybe a quote, something that you want to reference back to for your word of the year whenever you are listening to this. And if you want to take magnetic as your word of the year, by all means, go for it. But if you don't want magnetic as your word of the year, I'm still going to give you, I wrote a list here of 11 ways that we can be more magnetic together. And I think this is just going to be a really great list that we can implement to just feel better about ourselves, to be more authentic, to lean into like our intuition and our gut feelings, and in turn, just like have that radiating, glowing energy and light up every room that we walk into. So here is my list for how I am going to implement being more magnetic in the year 2025. Number 1, saying no. I have been really good about this in the past, but in the year 2024, I was not good about saying no. If you listened to last week's episode, you heard me talk a little bit about how last year was a pretty terrible year financially for my business. It was quite the struggle with the economy and all that kind of stuff. Just was not making the sales I was used to making. And that led me to saying yes to a lot of opportunities that I normally would have said no to because I needed the money. And I'm not talking about anything like inappropriate or illegal, like don't let your mind go there. I am just saying like business decisions and opportunities that I normally would have said, that doesn't really like align with my business, or that's not something I am interested in working on because I'm working on this other project. But last year I did say yes to those things because I really desperately needed the money. And there is not a worse feeling, in my opinion. Like, it was so icky to me to say yes solely because I needed the money, because I knew it wasn't something I was aligned with. It wasn't something my business was aligned with. Didn't, it just didn't make me feel good to say yes to things just because I needed the money. Like, I don't ever in my life want to be in that position again. And I think something that I've learned from that is, even if I am in a position of financial struggle, I am not saying yes to things just because I need the money, because I know and I'm confident that other opportunities will come along and they will be even better. Because when you are saying yes to what feels right and what feels authentic to you, more of that is just going to come and come and come. So more of saying no to the things that don't feel aligned in 2025. Number 2 is less complaining. This is also something that I feel like I'm normally pretty good at, but we could all afford to complain a little less. We all know the person who loves to complain, and it just drags down everyone's vibe and everyone's emotions, and it just feels icky. Like, the older I get, the more I realize after I have complained, it kind of just gives me this like gross feeling. I don't like the way it feels energetically to complain. And of course, there's always a time and a place for complaining and talking things out and just like getting things off your chest. But I am just talking about complaining for the sake of complaining, or complaining to connect with people, because I feel like it's such an easy way to have conversation and to connect with people when we're talking about things that it's like, oh, I don't like that, or can you believe this happened, or whatever. I just don't want to bring that energy with me into 2025 and beyond. Like, I am going to intentionally try to complain less and just kind of remove myself from being that way. And I'm not perfect, so I know I'm still going to fall victim of this, but just trying to be more mindful of complaining less. Number 3 is focusing on gratitude. So obviously that goes hand in hand with complaining less. I'm going to try to focus on the positives instead of the negatives. And something I am specifically doing to focus on gratitude is I actually got Brad and I both a 1 line a day calendar. So it's literally 1 page for January, 1 page for February, and there's just 1 line for every day of the month. And every day I'm just going to write down one thing that made me happy that day, or one thing I was grateful for, one thing that, just made my day a little better. And it doesn't have to be this big like journal entry or journal prompt. I'm definitely not someone who journals or likes to do that. I haven't quite gotten there yet. I've tried it a few times and it just hasn't stuck for me. So I figured this 1 line a day would be a great way to have a quote unquote gratitude journal without actually journaling, because I can just write 1 word or 1 sentence or a couple words, because all I have is 1 line to fit it on. So focusing on gratitude for 2025 is absolutely going to make us more magnetic, because we want people to compliment our energy and our positivity. And we're going to attract more gratitude and more positivity when we are focusing on that. Number 4 is discipline and keeping promises. So something that makes you magnetic and attractive to other people or positive situations and opportunities is by doing what you say you're going to do. And that goes for promises you make to other people, as well as promises you make to yourself. When you can be disciplined, it gives you this new level of confidence that just kind of like unlocks this superpower within you. And that's going to make you show up more confident, show up as the better version of yourself. And therefore, that's going to attract people to you. It's going to attract positive situations and opportunities to you. And you're just going to exude this confidence when you are able to keep promises to yourself and to other people. And again, just go back to, I love your energy. Like when you are confident, when you are keeping promises to yourself, you are going to radiate that magnetic, positive energy. Number 5 is looking good and being attractive for me. Now, this one is slightly superficial, but I'm going to try to not make it so superficial. But I will admit, I can do a better job at putting more effort into the way I look, which ultimately impacts the way I feel, which impacts the way that I show up in the world. It impacts my confidence and the way other people see me. When you're more confident, other people pick up on that and they see you as being more attractive, and they can feel you're more confident when you are confident. So it's not about like always having my hair and makeup done and having my nails done and this and that. It's not superficial in that sense, but I would be lying if I said I didn't feel better when I put a little bit of effort into looking good. So that might not mean getting up and doing a full face of makeup and curling my hair and always having my nails done and this and that. But maybe I just get up and focus on really doing my skincare consistently and putting on a little mascara. And instead of putting my hair into a messy bun, maybe I take 5 minutes to braid it or put it in a neat ponytail or something. So again, I'm not saying you have to like go do all these procedures and get Botox and do the latest and greatest thing here and there. But I enjoy makeup. I enjoy doing my hair. I enjoy the way that I feel when I put a little bit of effort into those things. So I have not been the best at doing that. I work from home. I make jewelry for work, which is a very dirty job. And I'm always wearing like ratty t-shirts and old sweatpants with holes in them and stuff because I'm just getting really dirty when I'm doing my job. And therefore, I just throw my hair in a messy bun. Sometimes I don't even wash my face in the morning because I just know it's going to get dirty. And I just want to change that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not doing it for anybody else but me. But I know I feel a little bit better. I feel a little bit more confident when I put a small amount of effort into the way I look. And so that's one thing I want to do to feel more confident and be more magnetic this year. That also goes into like the way that I feel about my body. So really making sure I'm keeping up with my sleep routine, eating healthy, taking my supplements, working out regularly, going for walks, and just like moving my body so I feel good in my own skin. Because when I feel good in my own skin, I'm able to show up for the world as the best version of myself. So more looking good for me in 2025. Number 6 is the art of detachment. So this is something that everybody can benefit from. If you want to be more magnetic, you need to get good at detaching. So you need to like shift your mindset from focusing on outcomes, like detach from what the outcome is and focus on, I am going to do everything in my power to do what I can. I'm going to be the best version of me. I'm going to show up how I can and put in the work, and then the rest will be what it will be. What is meant for me will come to me. I will be shown the right opportunities and be attracted to the right opportunities at the right time. And I just need to show up and be me, do what feels right, do what I want to do, be my authentic self, and detach from what the outcome is, because what is meant for me will be, and everything happens for a reason. It will all work out. And like, just me being my most confident self, putting in the work I know I'm capable of putting in will result in the outcome that is meant for me. You just have to have this like trust and knowing and confidence that everything is going to work out. And again, like what is meant for you will be. It's also the mindset of like detaching from others' approval or opinions. I'm pretty good at that. I don't necessarily like need other people's approval or opinions, but I'm human and I definitely fall trapped to that sometimes. So like having the art of detachment from being so confident in who you are, being so confident in what you do, the decisions you make, how you want to show up in the world, that nothing else matters. No one else's opinion matters. The only opinion that matters is your opinion of yourself. And that is the most attractive and magnetic thing that you can do. And then this is also something I've had to work on over the years is detaching from the mindset of what I feel like I should be doing or what society says I should be doing or what other people's opinions of what I should be doing. Instead of focusing on that, trying to shift your mindset to I'm doing what I want to do or what feels good for me and what I'm meant to do, not what society or what you or whoever thinks you should be doing. So kind of detaching from all of these limiting beliefs and just showing up as our most authentic self is an amazing way to be more magnetic. That leads me to number 7, which is being more authentic and staying in your own lane. So being magnetic, as I've kind of reiterated, is being so confident in who you are as a person that you show up as your most authentic self and you cannot be swayed by anyone, by anything in the world or your surroundings. Like you are so who you are, and that is so attractive to anyone and anything you will come in contact with is when you are your authentic self. And a big part of this is staying in your own lane. We are all guilty of getting on social media or watching TV or whatever it is and comparing ourselves to others, whether that's physically, in our career, in like I struggle with this with posting content. I am on social media all the time for my job, and it's so hard to figure out what to post, how to post, like what trends I should be doing. Should I use this trending audio? And I am trying to shift my mindset in 2025 from being a consumer to being a creator. And you can take this and apply this to your life, even if it's not for social media. Like, stop consuming the ways of the world. Stop consuming other people's opinions. Stop consuming other people's content and start creating your own. Create your own content. Create your own thoughts and own opinions. Create your own way of living your own life. Do what is aligned for you. Do what feels authentic to you. Like, don't be anybody else but yourself. That is the way that you are going to be authentic. Stay in your own lane. Stop comparing yourself to other people. It doesn't do you any good. It only drags down your energy when you compare yourself to other people. And I do it too. So like I am telling myself this as well when I'm telling you this. And that's not to say you can't like look at other people for inspiration. I think it's a mindset shift of like, okay, let me look at this person as an inspiration and an example of what I have the potential to do, as opposed to, oh, look at her, like she's so beautiful or she's so successful. I wish that I had that, or I wish I could do that, and feeling jealous or envious or discouraged Instead of looking through that lens, I want you to try to shift your mindset and look at it through the lens of, wow, if she can do it, that means I can do it too. So let's start looking at other people for inspiration. Let's stop comparing ourselves. Let's focus on being authentic, being ourselves, and staying in our own lane. All right, number 8 is having a little bit of secrecy or privacy as your secret weapon. So this is something that I feel is relevant to me because I do post a lot online and I love being vulnerable. I love sharing my struggles with you because I feel like if I can share this and help somebody, that is so worth it to me to like be vulnerable and put that information out there. But something I did at the end of 2024 was I actually had my personal Instagram account. I had that set as public. I decided to go ahead and shut that off and make it private. And that's just like my little space now. That's my space for the people that I know personally who are my like real life friends and family. And then I created a new account, which is my personal account, but it's my public facing personal account. And that's not to say like I'm not going to be authentic there or share real and raw and vulnerable things there. I definitely plan on doing that. I mean, I have a podcast, for goodness sake, where I'm talking about all this stuff in depth, but just having like a little bit for yourself feels good. And if you maybe can't relate with the social media example, I am guilty sometimes of being an oversharer when I meet people and just like blabbing and telling everybody everything. If you struggle with that too, maybe just consider like, how can you pull back on that a little bit and have a little bit more mystery and privacy and kind of use that as a way to be a little more mysterious and a little bit more just kind of like, oh, I don't need to share all of this with everyone. Because that kind of goes back to confidence. Like you are so confident in yourself and the ways you think and the opinions you have, the thoughts you have, the decisions you make. You don't need to like announce everything to the world or to everyone you meet. And that in itself is going to make you more attractive because people love a little bit of mystery and a little bit of secrecy and privacy. Like we all are so curious. And so if you give someone or people something to be curious about, it's going to make you more attractive and more magnetic. Okay, we have 3 more. Number 9 is to have passions and hobbies. This is something that I am always working on because I turned my passion into a business. So trying to find like passions and hobbies outside of having a business has been difficult for me. But last year, I actually did a pretty good job at that. I started flower gardening, and that sounds small and simple and silly, but it was a really fun, creative outlet for me. It gave me something new to do. And when you are seeking out new passions and hobbies, it makes you a more interesting person. It gives you more things to talk about. It allows you to connect and relate with other people. And when you have more things to talk about and interesting, different things to talk about, it just makes you a person that people want to be around and want to talk to because you've got something different and fun and interesting to bring to the table. So think about some different hobbies and passions that you can either pick up and start something new or lean into something that you already maybe sort of enjoy, but don't dedicate enough time for it, because having those hobbies and passions makes you a more interesting person to other people, but it also really helps you to like pour back into yourself and fill up your own cup. It's going to help make you happier, more fulfilled, and give you a sense of purpose, like outside of your job and outside of your friends and your significant other. Number 10 is the art of being delusional. Now, when I say delusional, I mean in the most confident way, like being so delusional that you're confident, like being so delusional that you are just, You can make anything happen. You can be anyone you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. And kind of just like running over any roadblocks that stand in your way. Being delusional means that you have no limiting beliefs about what is possible for you, and you can do anything you set your mind to. So having a delusional mindset and being so positive, focusing on gratitude, focusing on just being so confident that you know who you are, you know exactly what you want, and you are relentless in how you are going to get it is so magnetic. People are drawn to that type of energy, and that is only going to help excel you forward in any area of your life, is when you add a sense of delulu, as they like to say. This can also be applied to like self-love and loving yourself. Like, be so delusional about, I'm the best person I know. I'm the hardest working person I know. I'm the most attractive person I know. Telling yourself these things, being so delusional, believing these things is ultimately going to change your brain. And then you're actually going to believe them and they're going to come true. So being delusional, it sounds silly, it sounds fun, it sounds cute, but it's actually a very powerful tactic to rewire your subconscious brain. If you want to learn more about that, I actually did an episode about the power of your subconscious last spring. So go back and find that episode. It's actually very interesting to learn about like how we can program our subconscious mind to believe and think anything we want it to. And that is exactly what I mean when I say being delusional. All right, the last one for how to be more magnetic is to be more soft and lean into that feminine energy. So I said when I chose the word unrecognizable, it felt very masculine. It felt very rigid, very outcome focused, whereas magnetic feels much more feminine, soft, free flowing. It's leaning into intuition. It's leaning into kind of the powers that we as women have, like trusting our gut, trusting our intuition, doing what feels good to us, what feels aligned. All these things I've mentioned before, saying no to things that don't make us feel good, being so confident in who we are and putting in effort to make ourselves look good, feel good, and then we can show up as the best versions of ourselves. That is all very feminine type of energy. And I feel like that's exactly what being more magnetic is being feminine, being confident, knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and not being afraid to be exactly that and be the person that you are, be the person that you are meant to be the person you want to be. And that is going to make you so magnetic to the world and to any positive opportunities that are going to come your way. And I, as someone who owns a business, am very guilty of really leaning into masculine energy and being very like goals driven and outcome focused and working hard. So this year I want to try to lean into being a little bit more feminine. And I think putting effort into doing my hair and my makeup and dressing nicer and just trying to like trust my gut feelings and say no and do the things that make me feel good is really going to help me lean into that feminine energy, which is ultimately going to make me more magnetic. So that is it. 11 tips for how we can be more magnetic together. And I really encourage y'all to think about what you want your word of the year to be. If you have decided what your word of the year is, I would love to hear it. Send me a DM or leave a comment below. If you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, you can actually comment below. Let me know what your word of the year is. And then in next week's episode, we're actually going to talk about how to take that word of the year and turn it into a list of goals or things you want to achieve and accomplish and how to put that all together on a vision board. I absolutely love doing vision boards. They work 100%. It makes really cute art. If you're watching, you can see mine behind me. And I'm excited to share with y'all next week all about everything you need to know about vision boarding. But in the meantime, think about your word of the year, and I will see you next week. Bye.